B'Shem Hashem na'aseh v'natzliach. Shiur Torah. B'ezrat Hashem, today's shiur will be for Ilui Nishmat Asher ben Sarah ve'Ezra Reuven. Also for Ilui Nishmat Avigail Meril bat Beila. And also for a refuah shlema for Rivka bat Chava, David ben Esriya, Doris bat Jora, Rabbanit Levana bat Sarah, Rav Ephraim ben Shulamit, Rabbanit Sarah bat Anat, Serach bat Batya, Batya bat Sarah, Rivka bat Chava, Dvora bat Mercedes, Esther bat Tzipora, and also for Atzlacha Rabba, Refuat HaNefesh, Refuat HaGuf, for Miriam bat Avraham and Allah. Kadosh Baruch Hu yivarech otham bekol mikol kol. B'ezrat Hashem, this shiur will give their neshamot and ours some zchuyot and shamayim, B'ezrat Hashem. So, Baruch Hashem, we just came back from Montreal, Canada. It was a fantastic trip. We had a very big turnout in the lectures over there, Baruch Hashem. The first night, for anyone who didn't watch, we had a shiur with Rav Mizrahi together, and we had, Baruch Hashem, maybe 400 or so people show up at that event over there, which for that community, Baruch Hashem, is a large amount. And then we had another shiur, business shiur, the next day with a group of guys that I went to their office last year when I was there. And then we did a interesting meeting with a few rabbis about the situation, which B'ezrat Hashem will talk about a little bit today. And then we had another shiur the last night, where not yesterday, the day before, at Rabbi Gad Ifra's Bet MIDRASH. So Baruch Hashem, each shiur was different. Each shiur had some interesting new insights. Some things that were brand new we haven't mentioned. A few things I think I've mentioned in the past, but generally speaking, Baruch Hashem, B'siyat Lishmai, we try to continue bringing new information to people. So number one, for all of the people that have been watching our shiurim for the last few years, you don't ever say, oh wait, I heard this before, at least not too often. But also it forces us to continue learning, Baruch Hashem. This is one of the great benefits of doing kiruv and getting Am Yisrael to get to know their Father in heaven, is that you have to constantly bring new information. HaKadosh Baruch Hu helps you. Because I remember before I started doing shiurim, I was, Baruch Hashem, able to study for hours and hours at a time without a break, and without anyone bothering me, without anyone calling me 500 times, without any text messages really. And you can study for hours, like as if you're in a tunnel by yourself. 10, 12, 15 hours straight, like it's as if 5 minutes passed. Today, Baruch Hashem, you don't have the same opportunity because you have so many different people from all over the world watching the shiurim. So you don't have the same amount of time. But HaKadosh Baruch Hu says that you're never going to lose by doing a mitzvah. Needless to say, you're never going to lose by doing the mitzvah of Zikuy Rabim, of Kiruv. Because what are you really doing? You're bringing my children that I've been waiting for them to come home for 3,300 years. And you're going and sacrificing your time, your effort, your body, your resources, just for the sake of bringing my kids home. So, there's, Baruch Hashem, plenty of gifts that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives in return for anyone who truly dedicates themselves to Kiruv. As a side note, anyone see those things? If you could bring that to me, please. Yeah, I got it. So, as a side note, for anyone who wants to help our efforts in getting Am Yisrael to come back to Abba Shebashamayim, there's obviously countless ways to do it. The most traditional way is obviously anyone that wants to donate. Anyone that donates money, gives their maaser, their tithe, to Kiruv, to help us. You go to beezathashem.org, beezathashem.org. You could donate there as much as your heart allows you to, and that helps us do all of these things, because when we go to Canada, for example, we don't charge a fee like Manus Friedman. We don't charge $5,000 just to show up. We charge nothing, but it costs money. So, and the reason why we don't do it is not because you're not allowed to charge. You're allowed to charge. You're allowed to charge money too, but at the same token, it's important to not let the Yetzer Hara get in the way. So, of course, we rely on people donating, and it's very important for people to also become partners in the Zikuei Rabim, because this is one of the things that HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants from us. It's the only thing we can really do for Him. All the mitzvot, the learning Torah, the things that we do every day, it's for us. It's not for Him. The only thing that we can do for Him is bring His children back home. So we don't want to let the Yetzer Hara get in the way, and usually the Yetzer Hara is an expert in getting into people's head when it comes to money. You know, as soon as they hear price, oh, no. So, Baruch Hashem. So anyone that wants to be a partner can be by going to the website. Another way for anyone who does not have money, or even if you do have money but you want to do even more than just donate money, is to sponsor CDs. We're almost running out of CDs. We only have a few thousand left, Baruch Hashem. But we're waiting for another few 100,000 to come. But HaKadosh Baruch Hu has to let that happen because of what's happening in China. Baruch Hashem, there's a delay, a very big delay, because of what's happening over there. So Be'ezrat Hashem, when that comes, we'll have a new CD out, new DVD out, new USBs out. But in the meantime, so anyone that wants to sponsor those, that's obviously another way. But another thing that we just started now is we have a movie card. So this is a simple flyer that's our poster for the movie. But the beauty is on the back, you have this QRC code. So if you take your camera, any phone camera that you have, and you just point it at this thing, it goes directly to the movie. Goes directly to the movie. It's a brilliant idea, Baruch Hashem, that can help many people become introduced to our work, because usually when people first start watching us, it's usually because of either the personal story that was a lecture or the movie. And Baruch Hashem, so far we're almost at a couple 100,000 views of this movie, and countless people have started doing their tshuva because of it. Be'ezrat Hashem, there's going to be many more. This is just another way for people to get introduced to the work. Like I said, it's just strictly going to the movie, nothing else. They go to the movie, they play the movie, Be'ezrat Hashem, their neshama gets rewired, and then they end up watching the rest of the shiurim and come back to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Even if they're religious, even if they're not religious, even if they hate God, even if they don't even know God exists, whatever they are alive, HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants them to have a chance. If anyone hasn't heard, I told you recently there was a woman that was 79 years old that called me crying because she just discovered a couple of months ago that she's Jewish. So she was crying because she says, listen, now that I know that I'm Jewish, what does God want from me? What do I do? Which from that we learned a lot of musar, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't forget anyone. Meaning, no matter what you do in your life, no matter if you make money, you don't make money, you're a male, you're a female, you do right, you do wrong, everyone is going to get their chance or chances during their life to meet HaKadosh Baruch Hu. But sometimes some people's chances end a little earlier than they thought. Like, for example, just on the way here, Shem Yachem, I found out that my cousin, who was only 48 years old, died. Just this past couple of days. And that's the same family of the other cousin that died 2 years ago at 23 years old. It's his brother. Shem Yachem. Misken, the guy was married to a non-Jew and didn't keep any Torah and mitzvot. And apparently he ran out of chances. You don't want to be one of these people that is not only the one that runs out of chances, Hashem Yachem, but also you don't want to be the person that you were the chance. Meaning, if you took the initiative to make a certain donation, and the CD will be printed because of you. You took a certain amount of money and you sponsored a lecture. You took a certain amount of money and you did something to help Kiruv. You don't want to be the guy that Hashem says, I'm going to use you as the chance, and then you don't go because you want to buy a new watch instead. Or you want to buy a $30 steak every afternoon. You want to make sure that your money is used for something that's actually valuable, more than just your own stomach. Same concept is that you don't want to be the guy that is losing his own chance, thinking that you have all the time in the world to waste time and just be 50-50, religious whenever you feel like it. Like one young girl, fantastic neshama, that I met in Montreal. She comes from Baruch Hashem. Her brother did tshuva by watching our shurim, and then his parents started watching the shurim. They started doing tshuva, and then the sister comes, and she has a question for me after the shiur, and I say, okay. She says, is it okay if I just keep Shabbat twice a month? And you know what, you laugh, but it's a fantastic question. It's actually a fantastic question. Why? Because you're not saying that God doesn't exist or you want to go against him. You're asking simply, is there leniency? Is there can I just do sometimes yes, sometimes no? Now, the answer is, if it was my Shabbat, then I could tell you, you know what, keep whenever you feel like it. Why? I'm lenient, it's okay. It's not my Shabbat though. It's not my Shabbat. As we learn from the Chafetz Chaim had a very big donor come to his Bet Midrash. Very big donor come to his Bet Midrash years ago and donated tons and tons of money to build yeshivot and so on. And they wanted him to meet the Rav. So when he sat down, shook the Chafetz Chaim's hand, Chafetz Chaim held on to his hand. He didn't let it go. And the guy, he's holding a Sefer Torah. He doesn't want to let go either, but it's unusual. He's just holding the hand. And Chafetz Chaim is just analyzing his hand, looking at his hand. And the guy, after a few moments, becomes a little uncomfortable. He says, Kvod Harav, is everything okay? The Chafetz Chaim says, Chaval. Why chaval? Meaning it's sad. It's sad. Well, what's sad, Kvod Harav? What? Because it's sad that this precious hand that's so good at giving tzedakah is going to be burned in Gehenom because you don't keep Shabbat. The guy, the multimillionaire, thought he has a ticket, front row seats in Gan Eden, until the second when the Gadol Hador told him that he's going to go to Gehenom and he's not coming out. Because when a person does not do tshuva for Chilul Shabbat, en lo chelek l'olam haba, Torah says. So the guy is scared to death. The Gadol Hador just told him he's in trouble. He said, okay, Kvod Harav, what do I need to do? Because you need to keep Shabbat. And he starts seeing the Chafetz Chaim start crying. Chafetz Chaim is crying, holding this man's hand, and he starts crying because he's looking at his hand being burned. To us, it's just a story, it's words. To him, he's seeing the hand burned. So the guy can't handle the Chafetz Chaim. He's almost 100 years old, he's crying, it's dangerous already. He goes, okay, Kvod Harav, okay, just give me like a month and a half, let me fix a few things with my business, and then I'll keep Shabbat, no problem, I'll keep whatever the Rav says, I'll keep all Shabbat. The Chafetz Chaim starts crying even more, hysterical, everybody becomes uncomfortable now. Well, I'm going to keep it. Just give me a month to fix. I have my shop. I have to fix. I have to make arrangements. The employees, just give me a few weeks, and that's it. The Chafetz Chaim continues to cry. He's crying. He's just holding his hand stronger and stronger. He goes, Kvod Harav, I'm going to keep it. Just give me a few weeks. Chafetz Chaim looks at him and goes, do you think it's my Shabbat that I can just tell you to violate it for a few more weeks? If it was my Shabbat, do whatever you want. It's not my Shabbat. It's a Kadosh Baruch Hu Shabbat. And he only created it for you. He only created it for you, but if you don't keep his Shabbat, what can I tell you? All I see is the hand being burned with the rest of you. And he continues crying hysterical until the guy says, okay, I'm sorry, Kvod Harav, I'm going to keep the Shabbat. That doesn't matter. I'm going to keep the Shabbat. Baruch Hashem, the tshuva shlema. Sometimes you have to give a 9-hour shiur to get people to do tshuva. Sometimes you hold the person's hand and he does tshuva. When you're the Chafetz Chaim, you don't need to do much. You just hold the hand, the guy does tshuva. But the point is, Rabotai, this young girl asked me, can I just keep 2 Shabbats a week? The answer is, if it's my Shabbat, do whatever you want. Since it's not my Shabbat, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the Shabbat for you, that means you have to keep it as soon as possible if you're a Jew. Baruch Hashem, she was a very smart and clever girl. She understood the point, and Baruch Hashem, her brother just told me right earlier this afternoon that starting this Shabbat, she's keeping Shabbat 24 hours, the whole thing, 25 hours, the whole thing, from now on, no 50-50. She got the point. Alvai, the rest of us get the point. Alvai, the rest of us get the point. Alvai, the rabbis get the point. I can tell you that the only thing that disappoints me is that when I see that when you tell people the truth and they don't necessarily don't believe it. They agree. They say, I agree with you. Yeah, you're right. Okay, so you're going to do something? No. That drives me crazy. That drives me crazy. I tell people you have 1.5 million opportunities to help people do tshuva, and they say, yeah, I'm going to do it, and then they don't do nothing about it. Now, these cards, I brought you a bunch of them, a few thousand of them. They're in my car. If you want to give them out, give them out. You have money to give them. You don't have any money to give, take them anyway and just give them out. But just make sure, no matter what, don't leave them in your house. No one's doing tshuva if these things are in your house. I can leave them in my house also. Also, anyone that's watching, if you're located in America and you want to give these cards out in your community, you want to take 20, put it in a kosher supermarket, another 20 in a shul, another 20 in different places. You know, give them out in different places. Just send me a message. We'll send you some. If you can pay for it, you can pay for some shipping, you can pay for anything, please do. If you can't pay for it, no matter what, we'll send it to you anyway. Because the key is for people to do tshuva. Kadosh Baruch Hu will send the money one way or the other. So I brought a bunch of them for anyone who wants to give them out. And again, anyone that's in the U.S. that wants to give them out, let me know. We'll ship them to you. But don't just take the whole stack of 1,000 and just put them in one place and leave. That's not giving them out. That's throwing them out. You know, take 20, put it in one place. Go to another place. Take another 20, put it in another place. I have to say this because this is what happened with our CDs. We send a few people, a few thousand CDs. And, you know, the next day I told them, so how you doing with the CDs? You find a few places? He goes, yeah, I put everything in my Beit Knesset. Like he just took the box, put it in the Beit Knesset, he thought he did Kiruv. I said, you just stole money. You just stole the money. That's what you did. You just took everything that we took and you threw it in the garbage. You lift the box in a place. No, take a little box, take 20. That's it, because when people see big piles, it starts looking like garbage. So put a few and then move on to the next place. And then, B'ezrat Hashem, if you spend a day doing this, you'll be able to get into a lot of different places. And B'ezrat Hashem, when you get up to Shamayim after 120, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to tell you that you have helped countless people do tshuva. So this is another easy way to help people do tshuva. So with that being said, I had a disappointing meeting, which, to be honest with you, I wasn't really surprised. I met with a few rabbis, and because I was asked to speak about the current situation that apparently the Jewish world is unaware of. For the most part, they're unaware, and even when they're aware, they don't care. If you remember, about a month and a half ago or so, I told you guys that the missionaries from Christianity have chosen Florida as their next destination point, specifically the Jewish neighborhoods, as the next destination point to invest their millions in order to recruit Jews to Christianity. I also told you sometime before that the Muslims decided to do their dawah, their form of missionizing, also all over the country, and it's now the fastest growing religion in America. Now, it's also a very fast growing religion in Canada too. It's also a very fast growing religion in Israel too. It's a fast growing religion everywhere. Now, the Muslims are doing their missionizing, which they call dawah. The Christians are doing their missionizing, which is avodah zarah. But the Jews, unfortunately, are, I don't know what they're doing. Because you see that it's really not that hard to help people do tshuva. It really isn't that hard. Why? All you got to do is tell people the truth, more times than not, they're going to start changing their life. One of my students who's a Rav in a school asked me a question about what to tell someone about about him attending a different school. I told him, listen, tell him the truth. He goes, yeah, but maybe he'll be offended, maybe this. I said, tell him the truth. Tell him the truth no matter what. He told the kid the truth, and he calls me today. He says, you wouldn't believe it. The kid not only accepted the truth, but it became the whole conversation for the whole school. Everybody enjoyed this truth now. You tell people the truth, you're giving them a legitimate chance to do tshuva. You don't tell them the truth, you're simply taking away their chance to do tshuva. Don't do that. Tell people the truth. Now, many times you can't do it. You have me do it. You give them a card, you give them a CD, you give them a link. But sometimes you tell certain people the truth when they have the ability to influence others, and not only do they not accept it, but they reject it in a way where it's very discouraging. So I met with a couple of rabbis, and I told them that after my shiurim about Christians coming to Florida, Baruch Hashem, a few thousand people have watched that shiur, and now my phone is being blown up on a daily basis from all types of communities that are telling me that everything that I said is happening in their backyard. One guy tells me, on Shabbat, he sees a new guy in his Bet Knesset. Doesn't know him. Okay, maybe it's a new guy, he doesn't know. Guy looks a little unusual. After they're finishing praying, the guy doesn't really know what he's doing, so maybe he's a new Baal Tshuva, you don't know, you don't ask questions. But then he sees that as everybody else is, after they finish praying, they start eating. And he sees the guy going outside, talking to one of the other guys. And he overhears him. Who is he talking about? He's talking about Yoshke. He's talking about Jesus right outside the Beit Knesset. Why? Because he's a Christian. But he went to Beit Knesset. Why? Customers. He's looking for customers to Beit Knesset on Shabbat here in Florida. What, you think it didn't happen in New York? Happens in New York also. Best yet, just last night, I have a guy say, there are people that call themselves Charidim in Eretz Israel that believe in Yoshke. Charidim, the payers, the hat, the everything, believe in Yoshke. Mothers are calling me, crying, over the last few days. Why? One mother tells me, I don't know what to do. Why? What happened? She said, I borrow money. She says, I borrow money just to send my kids to Jewish schools, to yeshiva. She says, I sent my, I think, 7 or 9-year-old kid to yeshiva. He comes home. He says, and she says, oh, what'd you learn today? She goes, oh, I learned about Jesus. She goes, what? Who? Well, you learned about Jesus. From who? What rabbi taught you that? He goes, no, it wasn't the rabbi, Ima. Who taught you that? He goes, my history teacher. My history teacher taught me about Jesus. Hashem yishmor v'yatzil. Hashem yishmor v'yatzil. Here in Florida. What, you think it's not happening in New York? In New York, they have some guy from New York, in Muncie, translated the New Testament to Yiddish. Why? Specifically to target all of the Ashkenazim. So, I'm getting calls, I'm getting text messages, I'm seeing, I can't help it. There's just so many people crying about this. And so I figured, you know what, Ishtabach Shimo, we have a solution. We already spoke about the solution a few months ago. Just do what I said, that's finished. Fire all of the people that are not Jewish. Hire people that are Jewish. Baruch Hashem, you're finished. Jewish people are looking for work. The non-Jewish people can find different work, you're finished. They want to teach there about Yoshke, go teach it in, I don't know, in Gehenom for like, I don't care. In a Jewish school, you teach about Judaism. That's it. How do you verify the guy's going to teach about Judaism if he's a religious Jew? So I tell this to a few rabbis I think that we're going to get something. One rabbi, Baruch Hashem, accepted. He says, you know what, I'm going to have to start becoming more equipped with knowledge of how to deal with this. How to deal with this, how to defend, how to teach my kids how to defend themselves when a missionary comes. Why? They're little kids, 14, 15, 16 years old. A missionary shows up to them, starts asking them questions about Isaiah 53 or Daniel 9 or some other verses that they're completely mistranslating and distorting. They're not going to have the answers. They're going to create confusion. He said, I'm going to watch some of your shurim, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. Baruch Hashem, I was very happy. The other guy, on the other hand, he says the following to me. He says, I agree with everything you're saying. He says, everything you're saying makes sense. Makes sense. The missionaries are investing a lot of money. They're investing a few $100 million a year in Israel alone. They're dipping 1,000 people, 1,000 Jews a week, just in Eretz Yisrael, dipping them in water to turn them to Christianity. Every week. Yev Reshaim like Yitzchak Shapira. Shem Reshaim Yirkav, that apparently lives in Israel now, opened an office in Yerushalayim. His main focus is religious Jews. Rasha Merusha. All he cares about is money. But he tries to target religious Jews, and unfortunately, he's succeeding to a certain extent. But he calls it Judaism. He says that, no, we're Jews, 100% Jews. We even believe in the oral Torah. Yeah, he doesn't tell you, he just mistranslates it, though, to his likings. So they're succeeding. So I tell the guy, listen, this, and this. So he says, I agree with everything that you're saying. There's a problem with the missionizing. There's a problem with everything. Fine. He says, if you can get the Gdol Ador, the biggest rabbi in the world, to write a psak halacha, to say that from now on we're going to teach like you, I'll do it. That's like telling me, if you can jump from the top of the Empire State Building and survive, I'll do it. I'll do it. You might as well say, you know what, I don't agree. Oh, you know what, I don't feel like it. To give me a response like that shows me how much more trouble we're in than I even thought. I'm telling you that your own backyard is in jeopardy. There's a girl in your community that almost married an Arab 3 weeks ago. There's another guy that's going out with a Goya that I have to beg him to leave her. There's a countless amount of people that are begging me to help them get out of their intermarriage situation. They're in your backyard, and you're telling me, let me go get a letter from the Gdol Ador for you to say something about it? You might as well just ask me, go get Moshe Rabbeinu, go find his kever, go find what he's at, get him to write a letter, and that's it. I'm telling you that there's a danger inside your house, and you're telling me to go get a letter? Now, if you're going to ask, well, what's the big deal? Go get a letter. You don't need a letter for that. You don't need a letter for that. If the doctor tells you you have cancer, you don't need someone else to tell you, by the way, you should take care of that. You have cancer. You got to take care of it. Now, any normal person needs to know that. So the other Rav that was with me got really frustrated at this awful response. He says to him, listen, you've been doing kiruv for how many years? 20 years? He says, yeah. How many people you help do tshuva? He says, proudly, 100. 100 people. My friend didn't want to embarrass him. He says, don't you think it should be more? So he was taken back. He goes, what do you mean? It's 100 people. It's a lot of people. It's a lot of people if you compare it to 0. 1 is also a lot of people in comparison to 0. But if you worked 20 years to get 100 people to do tshuva, and your number one job every day, morning and night, is to do kiruv, you should find a new job. Why? You right now, you guys are watching right now, right in front of me. You people are watching on the internet. You are responsible to get at least 10 people every year to do tshuva. You, without a kiruv organization, without millions of dollars being donated to you. Just by taking these flyers, taking the links, taking the CDs, doing something, you are responsible to doing 10 every year. If a kiruv organization is proud of helping 5 people a year do tshuva, we are in serious trouble, Rabotai. If I didn't get at least 3, 4, or 5 emails every single day from people that have done tshuva because of our shurim, I quit. Well, it weakens me. If I don't get results, it weakens me. Because you ask yourself, what's the point of it? I'm not making any money. In fact, it's the opposite. You have to live on a miracle. On top of it, you got no end to the headaches. On top of that, no end to the Erev Rav that tried to fight you. So at the very least, let me get some Baalei Tshuva, so you get, at least you know. Bezrat Hashem, at least some people have Olam Haba now. So if you're not getting 3, 4, 5 letters every single day, text messages, emails, phone calls, all types of things, oh, you saved my life, I changed this, I changed that, I started keeping, if you don't get that every single day, that's what you need. You have to have it. You have to have it. Every day you have to have it. That's the air in your lungs. If you're not getting a few people every day, at least one a day, I don't know what you're doing. Something's wrong. Why? Torah is easy. Torah is easy. You tell people the truth, they do tshuva. It's not even talent. People think it's because I'm a good speaker. It has nothing to do with speech. Moshe Rabbeinu couldn't speak. He got all of Am Yisrael to do tshuva in one speech. Moshe Rabbeinu was not only a stammerer, but also a stutterer. You can't get worse than that. All of Am Yisrael did tshuva. Now you're going to say, no, it's because of the miracles. What, you don't see miracles? You open the Sefer Torah, there's no end to the miracles. Right before the shiur started, we saw a live miracle. I don't know if you guys noticed. Baruch Hashem, every time we come here, usually, God bless him, Sonny is here before us, setting up the cameras and everything else. Ishtabach Shemo, he was with me, Mesirut Nefesh, in the freezing cold over there in Canada. So he got sick. God bless him. So I told him to take the night off. And what I forgot is that he has the key. He has the key to the place. So when we got here, there's no key. There's no key to the place. So I said, okay, Baruch Hashem, there's no key. What are we going to do? Okay, we're going to wait for the key. We're waiting for the key. Then a Holocaust survivor shows up. A Holocaust survivor, it's almost 90 years old, shows up. And I talked to him one-on-one, Baruch Hashem. He's interested in doing tshuva. He's interested in hearing more Torah. He's not going to stand here for 2 hours like you guys. He's not going to stay here for 2 hours like you guys. The only chance in the world for me to talk to him one-on-one and become best friends with him right now, give him a hug, give him a kiss. He says, yeah, I'm going to come to his house tomorrow. We're going to get together. B'ezrat Hashem. We're going to do tshuva together because we want to live for Olam Haba. The only chance is if we have to wait outside for almost a half hour for somebody to show up with a key. What, you think it's an accident? HaKadosh Baruch Hu manipulated the entire world. For Sonny to get sick, God bless him, B'ezrat Hashem, he'll have refuah shlema. For him and I to forget that he's the only one that has the key. For the guy to show up today and be open to hearing Divrei Elokim Chaim for the few minutes we have before we start the shiur. HaKadosh Baruch Hu maneuvered the entire world just for this guy. And you're telling me that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is not paying attention? Everything is paying attention. Everything is paying attention. Why? Everybody has to have a chance. Now surely he's had many chances, but he's getting another chance now. The key is, Rabotai, is to pay attention to all of these things. When we have a fire, we don't need a fireman to tell us, move out of the way. When we have a sickness, we don't need someone to tell us you should take care of it. When we have a problem, we don't need anyone to tell us, oh, what are you going to do about it? We need to already start being proactive about it. We have to become a little more aggressive. When someone tells you, yeah, listen, go have the Gdol Ador, the biggest rabbi in the world, get him to write a letter. And of course, everybody has a different opinion of who the Gdol Ador is, right? So you know, so it's not, his Gdol Ador is not the same Gdol Ador that I have. And what I have is not what he has, and what he has, and what he has. And even if you give him what he has, he says, yeah, but maybe it's not enough. Maybe we should get 2. It's like when we were fighting against the missionaries in Boca Raton 4 years ago. They wanted Goldberg and Company. Wanted to bring the #1 Catholic missionary in the world to give a Shabbaton to a Keilah with 1,000 Jewish families. I screamed fire. Everybody said, you're right. Okay, so join me. No. Why not? No, our kids go to school here. We go to the Beit Knesset here. I said, yeah, but you realize the whole community is in danger right now. If a Catholic missionary, a Christian missionary, any type of missionary is coming here, that means you are on the radar. That means it's not going to end with one meeting. That means you're all in danger. You don't understand what these missionaries are. I do. No, we agree with you. I said, okay, so why don't you support it? Talk to the rabbi, scream, do something. Nothing. Why? Everybody comfortable living. So when I got the community, pretty much, even the ones that agreed with me, didn't want to do anything. They just said, listen, we're just not going to go. I said, you may not go, but there's 1,000 families here. It's one of the biggest Jewish communities here. And their head rabbi, one of the head rabbis in Florida, Ephraim Goldberg, Shem Rashayim Yirkav, if he's the one that's inviting them, that means he's putting a kosher stamp on a missionary. Do you understand what this means to people? You got a 13, 14, 15, 16-year-old kid. Gets his rabbi, says this guy's okay to listen to. Guess what? You're finished. 25, 35, 45-year-old woman. She's having a little problems in her life. The rabbi says, good, let's listen to this guy who talks about Yoshke. You're finished. Crying to people. No one's listening. No one's helping. Nothing. So I said, okay.
Rabbis? These are Orthodox rabbis?
Ephraim Goldberg is one of the top modern Orthodox rabbis in all of America, needless to say, in Florida. He's a dayan. He's not only a rabbi, he's a dayan. He almost has keys to the White House. He's in AIPAC, he's in Jewish Federation, he's in OU or ORB. He's everywhere. He's one of the most well-connected rabbis in America, if not the world. I'm crying, and everybody's like, yeah, no, we agree with you, but maybe you're a little too aggressive. Maybe you should talk to him. I said, I already talked to him for a month, and he doesn't want to hear it. So what do? We went to Gdolei Ador. We figured, okay, Baruch Hashem, the Keilah itself is too stupid to realize what danger they're in front of. There's an atomic bomb being shipped UPS, and they're not doing anything. So I said, okay, let me go to the Gdolei Ador. Why? Because the local rabbis weren't doing anything either. A few said, oh yeah, you're right, doesn't help. So we went to the Gdolei Ador. Went to practically every single big rabbi, all over the place, in Israel, in America. You would think people would chase us with signatures, would start showing up at the community saying, listen, you got to stop this. One rabbi after another. Listen, I agree with you, but I'm not going to sign the letter. Why not? Why not? One rabbi told me, listen, your mistake is that you think that modern Orthodox and Orthodox are the same religion. I said, I agree with you, there's a difference and so on and so forth. Fine, no problem. It doesn't make a difference. There are Jewish people on the line here. He says, no, you're not understanding. Even if I sign, they won't listen to me. So what's the point? I said, the point is there will be support. If you sign, somebody else will sign also. He didn't want to do it. I go to another one. Wanted to sign. But then his son or grandson decided to be gechazi and ruin it. Go to another one. Says, listen, we're going to get back to you. Never got back to me. Another one, get back to you. Never got back to me. We were calling them all day, all night. We literally didn't sleep for almost a month. My son was born. I was barely there to see him. If you guys remember, there was a shiur on his Brit Milah. It was pretty much almost the first time I saw him. We didn't sleep day and night. We got a couple of rabbis to sign, but only one gadol. A few decent-sized rabbis to sign, Rabbi Meir Eliyahu, a few others, Rabbi Mutzafi, I think it was, also, but which also is one of the Gedolim. But from America, only one Gadol, Rav Shmuel Kamenetsky. He signed a letter. Now, Baruch Hashem, we never even needed to have those letters because eventually the Christian guy or the Catholic guy got so scared out of all the chaos we were causing that he ended up canceling the event 3 days before the event happened. B'siyat Dishmaya. Hashem had mercy on us because he saw that all the rabbis are losers. They care less that there's an atomic bomb showing up at the community. But Baruch Hashem, HaKadosh Baruch Hu had mercy on us for everything we were doing for 2 months. The Catholic guy called in, I am canceling. Why? I'm scared of what's going to happen to me if I show up. I don't know who, what, when, and how happened. All I know is that he got scared. But the point is, Rabotai, there's nothing clearer. There's nothing clearer than the danger for missionaries, especially if they come into your community. So if 4 years ago, that's what happened. What do you think is going to happen now? You think if I go to Gdol Ador, they're going to sign a letter right now? Most likely not. You know why? Everybody's busy. Everybody's busy doing other stuff. Now, you think this is new? It's not new. The Klosenberger Rebbe, Alav Shalom, almost 40 years ago, in 5736, we're 5780 now. Over 40 years ago, in one of his sichot on Parashat Beshalach, on a shiur called Chumash and Rashi, Parashat Beshalach, 5736, writes the following. This is excerpts from what he wrote, from his sicha. He says, there are many times that the rabbi of a community only rebukes other communities. The rabbi of the community, he only rebukes other communities instead of his own community. Meaning, he's in America, he says, yeah, but you know, the communities in Israel, yeah, they're weak over there. Or he's in Israel, he says, oh yeah, you know, at least we're here. But in America, they're like reform. Or he's in Florida and he's making fun of New York. He's in New York, he's making fun of Florida. Instead of focusing on his own, he's focusing on somebody else. Then the Klosenberger Rebbe continues and he says, but then there are other types of people, not just rabbis, but also big influences within the community, who aren't only just people that have no Yirat Shamayim whatsoever, and they're not reliable people, but they go to the extent of stopping other people from rebuking their community with the necessary musar, because they're afraid that it would offend the important and wealthy people in their community, and that would lead them to stop coming to the Bet Knesset, meaning no less donations. So to make themselves feel better, what do? No, we rebuke here. We just do it our way. How do you do it? By rebuking other communities. You're rebuking someone else. You're Chabad, you're gonna rebuke Yaron Reuven. You're modern Orthodox, you're gonna rebuke Chabad. You're this Orthodox, you're gonna rebuke somebody else. Everybody's rebuking somebody else except their own. So then the Klosenberger Rebbe says, when it says the mitzvah of checking for chametz, it specifically says, check your chametz, not your neighbor's chametz. Check your chametz first. Check your problems first. Check your mum first, your community first. You have a bunch of people driving to Beit Knesset on Shabbat. You have a bunch of people that go out nightclub dancing, mixed marriages, mixed dancing, beaches, Hashem Yarachem, all types of averot from the Torah, of Gilui Arayot, all types of things, and you dare not rebuke them, and if that's not bad enough, you stop other people from rebuking them. The Klosenberger Rebbe says these people are so delusional, they forgot that the mitzvah of chametz, of finding the stuff that you have to take out, to burn, they forgot that the mitzvah is on them, on their community, on their house. So they appease themselves by pretending to rebuke, by talking about other people, talking about other communities. So this is what's happening today. What's happening today, Rabotai Yekarim, is that either there is simply no rebuke whatsoever. They listen to Reshaim like Manis Friedman, who tells everybody, no matter what you do, Hashem is not going to punish you. Hashem Yishmo v'yatzil. He removed one of the 13 Ikarim of the Rambam from the Torah. No reward and punishment. He said after 2,000 years of exile, after Holocaust, Inquisitions, Hashem is not going to punish anybody. No one is going to get punished. Doesn't matter if you keep Shabbat, don't keep Shabbat. Doesn't make a difference. Doesn't make a difference. So people listen to him. People defend him. There's no rebuke. Or worse yet, they rebuke, but somebody else. They tell you about the problems of other communities. They have intermarriage in their own community, but they talk about how other communities are saying Lashon Hara. They have Chilul Shabbat in their community, but they're talking about other communities that have a problem with their iruv. They have mamash giloy arayot befaresia, all types of immorality crimes in their yeshivot, in their bekneset, in everything. But they're talking about the problems of how other communities are not giving enough tzedakah. This is mamash the Satan himself. Yiratzon, may it be his will that we never fall into this trap of the Satan of thinking that we don't have to clean our own house first. Sure, you have to help other communities by telling them if they have a problem. You got to let them know. You got to help them. But you have to make sure you save yourself first. That's why no matter whether it was the flight to Montreal or the flight from Montreal back to Florida, the people, the stewardess, had the same instructions. They said in case there is a problem with the plane and the oxygen mask comes down, Hashem Yirachem, put the mask on yourself first, then somebody else, then the baby, then the child, then anybody else. Why? You have to save yourself first, Abutai. You have to clean your house first. Because if you don't clean your house first, you don't save yourself first, you're not going to survive to help anybody else. So the first obligation that a person needs to have when he intends to do kiruv, when he intends to try to help other people do tshuva, is start doing tshuva himself. She has to start doing tshuva herself. This is why people are confused when they say, oh, well, isn't there some sage that said there's no one has the right to rebuke anymore? Now, first of all, he didn't say that. Second of all, you need to understand what he said. In the previous generations, they literally had people that were perfect tzaddikim. When you talk about people like Rabbi Eliezer ben Holkinos, or Rabbi Akiva, or Rabbi Yoshua Levi, or Ben Levi, or Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, all of these tzaddikim, these people were literally the complete human beings. The complete human beings. So if they rebuked you, they can rebuke you about everything. Why? Because they themselves didn't have a problem with it. If they told you about doing tshuva for Shabbat, for tarat mishpacha, for bad midot, for wasting seed, for being a bad husband or wife, and so on, whatever it is, they knew what they were talking about, but not, needless to say, they weren't hypocrites. So the Sage says, there's no one that can rebuke like them. Meaning there's no one that's living today that can rebuke about everything. Why? Because no one is complete in everything. Okay, you're complete in some things, but not everything. So what is he trying to say? Only rebuke about things you're good at. Don't tell people to keep Shabbat if you're still driving on Shabbat. Don't people to keep kashrut if you're still eating taref once a week. Don't tell people shlom bayit solutions if you're divorced 4 times like Tony Robbins. You understand? Don't be a hypocrite. If you're going to tell people to do tshuva about something, it better be something that you are doing good at. That's the key. That's the key. So with that being said, Bechavod, who wants to start with some questions?
Okay, so today, after we finished our view, I was talking with another rabbi about would it be a mitzvah to set fire to a strip club or any one of this place, and he said no, because the goyim are not restricted from a Jew can't go there, but a goy can.
Okay.
But then I asked him, okay, so are you allowed to set fire to a gay club, since that's forbidden for Jews and Gentiles?
Right.
And he said technically from the Torah it's allowed, but you wouldn't want to do it because of the law or something. But I mean, if you can get away with it, should you do that?
So the question is, are you allowed to destroy other people's property and also put people's lives in danger because they're sinners? Both answers the rabbi told you were not complete, to say the least. You have a Sanhedrin. At the time of the Sanhedrin, Am Yisrael had control, Am Yisrael had the power, and if they found out that someone was a homosexual or someone was promiscuous, they would give them the death penalty. Meaning, if a woman was with someone that was married, or a man was a homosexual of some kind, and people made some sins that are karet, they would kill them. But the Sanhedrin hasn't been around in nearly 2,000 years. So, since that time, we do not have the power, not just the power as far as physical power, but the authority from heaven to take the law into our own hands. We have no permission whatsoever from the Torah to set any place on fire that's not our own. You want to burn something, you can burn your own house if you'd like. But you cannot burn somebody else's house, no matter what they're doing there. You cannot burn somebody's company, you cannot burn somebody's club, you cannot burn, regardless of what they're doing there. You have no permission whatsoever to destroy somebody else's property. Their sins are their problems, not your problem. Your problem is your sins, not their sins. If they come to you and they ask you for guidance about what they should do with their life, and if their life needs adjustment, then you can tell them, listen, in reality, every time you are performing homosexuality, or you are promiscuous and you're causing people to waste seed and cheat on their husbands and so on, or cheat on their wives, you're causing Hashem to shorten your lifetime and increase your punishment in Gehenom. You could tell them stuff like that, but to take your own hand and put other people's lives at risk, absolutely not. Any rabbi that told you it's allowed, or even gave you the insinuation it's allowed, needs to go back to yeshiva, learn the halachot, follow up what it means to have a Sanhedrin, what not have a Sanhedrin. The reality is, Rabotai, people that think that they can force the world to change by brute force simply do not believe in God. Again, people that think that they can change the world by their own hand, by their brute force, do not believe in God enough, at least. Why? You think that God sent you to kill people. He doesn't need you to kill people. He killed my cousin 2 days ago for no reason. Meaning, he had his reasons, but he didn't have to shoot him in the face. He didn't have to burn him alive. He killed him in his own way. He doesn't need you to burn his house. He doesn't need you to burn anybody. He kills 18 million people a year from certain things, almost 60 million people a year all over the world, without your help. He doesn't need your help to kill anybody. If we're at war, that's a different story. You want to go kill people? Go sign up to the army, shoot at will. Go to the army, front line. There's going to be I'm sure they're going to send you to some terrorist squad, and then you can kill as many as you see. But until then, you have no right, no permission whatsoever to even put anyone at risk, even if he's a sinner. Even if he's a sinner. Even if he's a child molester. Why? You have a law. You have a law. That's their job. That's their job. Now, would the Torah kill such a person? Absolutely. But we don't have a Sanhedrin. So what happens in the times of no Sanhedrin? The Gemara says in the times of Sanhedrin, don't think for a second that their judgment is forgiven. Don't think for a second that their judgment is not given to them. It is given to them, but in a Kadosh Baruch Hu's timing. In a Kadosh Baruch Hu's timing. So someone in the old days that violated Shabbat, supposed to get stoning, right? Today he gets hit by a car. Today he falls off of a building. Today he falls down his stairs. Today he gets into a plane crash. Today there's no end to the amounts of ways that HaKadosh Baruch Hu will kill this person. Whenever he chooses to kill this person, he doesn't need you to help him. He has sins, but HaKadosh Baruch Hu didn't kill him for a reason. Never for a moment think that you are allowed for a second to take the law into your hand. Never. Secondly, you shouldn't even have those thoughts. The fact that you have those thoughts is also unhealthy. It's unhealthy to have such thoughts because a person could seriously lead themselves to a point where they could lose their mind and become another member of the killer squad that's shooting up schools and UPS locations and USPS and all types of malls that's happening in America here every 2.5 days. Every 2.5 days there's a mass shooting here in America. There's something wrong in the water. There's something wrong in the education. There's something wrong. What's going on? I think it has a lot to do with the movies and the video games people play, but definitely also has to do with the drugs they give little kids. Every little kid has some type of drug addiction because they didn't pay attention in class. So, point is, Rabotai, is you have to understand, you are responsible for you. That's all. You're responsible for you. You're not allowed to kill anybody. You're not even allowed to beat up anybody. You're not even allowed to beat up anybody. In fact, you're not even allowed to curse them. You don't like it, go somewhere else. You want to say things that are in the Torah. You want to give a shiur, say how much homosexuality is disgusting, it's an abomination, they're going to go to Gehenom if they don't do tshuva and so on and so forth. No problem. You can do that. Why? Because that's education. You're saying things from the Torah. But to go take the God's job and put it into your own hand to start, no, that's a very, very unhealthy thought, and you have to do whatever you can to remove this thought from your mind. It's not your job to kill people. It's your job to do tshuva. That's your job. You want to help people, bring more kedusha to the world. And the reason why is because it doesn't matter how many gay clubs and strip clubs and all types of filthy, disgusting places you will destroy in the world. For every one you destroy, the Satan will make another 2 or 3. So there will be no end. There will be no end. So the reality is all you will do is desecrate God's name, make Jews look like fanatic ISIS members, some psychopaths, make the Torah look disgusting, make the Torah look like some type of book of murder, make HaKadosh Baruch Hu look like some killer, and nothing good will come out of it. Nothing good will come out of it. So a person needs to know that HaKadosh Baruch Hu runs the world. He doesn't need your help. If he wants to kill somebody, he will kill them. If he doesn't want to kill somebody, he won't kill them. As Moshe Rabbeinu asked HaKadosh Baruch Hu about the question of how come there are righteous that suffer and there are wicked that don't suffer, that prosper. HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, I'll do whatever I want. Gemara, Masechet Brachot. I'll do whatever I want. I don't have to give you an explanation, Moshe. Moshe was his best friend. Moshe was asking a legitimate question. Hashem gave him a few different reasons, but Moshe was digging deep into this question. How come this? How come? Listen, if I was Chavruta with Hashem, I would also ask questions. But HaKadosh Baruch Hu at some point said to Moshe Rabbeinu, I'll do whatever I want. I don't have to explain myself to you. If he allows this gay club, this strip club, this terrorist, this idol worshiper, this house of idolatry to exist, that's because he's allowing it to exist. You want to defeat it? You wanted to destroy it? You could only destroy it in a spiritual way. The only way to destroy the filth of tum'ah, of the impurity, is by producing kedusha, by producing more Torah in the world, more people that are shomrei Torah v'mitzvot, doing more mitzvot yourself, learning more Torah yourself, and helping other people do the same. That is the only way that you can destroy the tumah. Why? Because when you produce more kedusha, that kedusha will defeat the tumah. It has nothing to do with physical prowess. It has nothing to do with tanks. It has nothing to do with guns. It has nothing to do with even aggressive language. It has to do with what HaKadosh Baruch Hu told us to do. You want to beat the tum'ah? First of all, start with yourself, do tshuva. Second of all, become an influence to the people around you by helping them do tshuva. That's it. That's it. That's all you need to do. Next question. Havod.
the sin of the arayot was prevalent. So my question is, was the core reason for the sin of idol worship to actually worship the idol, or was it more towards to worship the idol and then make the sin with the goyim?
So the question is, for people at home that didn't hear, because no mic today, when Am Yisrael sinned on a couple of occasions with idols, was it because they worshipped the idols because the idols actually spoke to them and were able to perform, because HaKadosh Baruch Hu instilled power in them in order to test the people, to see if they go after them or not? Or was it because they really wanted to perform immorality crimes because of what happened with the Moabites and the Midianites, and also what happened at the time of the Bet HaMikdash with other goyim? So it's a built question, so there's two-part answer. At the time of Mount Sinai, the sin was for one reason. At the time of the Bet HaMikdash, the sin was for a different reason. The idolatry performed at the time of Mount Sinai was because the Satan saw that the people were weakened. Their emunah was weakened because they mistaken the time of how long Moshe Rabbeinu was supposed to be at Mount Sinai. They were mistaken by 6 hours. That's why the verse over there says Boshesh. Boshesh, if you use the vowels differently, it's Beshesh. So Torah says that Am Yisrael thought that Moshe Rabbeinu was supposed to come back from Mount Sinai 6 hours earlier. And because of that, they started questioning whether he's alive or not. The second the Satan saw that Am Yisrael was weakened, he took advantage. Lepetach chatat rovetz. Hashem says to Cain, if you leave an opening for the sin, you leave an opening for the Satan, he's going to break in. He's going to break in. If you have a doubt about Hashem, Satan comes in. When you have a problem believing that Hashem will help you, that means that you now have given permission for the Satan to enter and give you all types of thoughts. So because they had doubts about Moshe coming, they had doubts about Hashem, the Satan came into their mind and said, okay, so that means that we need somebody else to represent us to God. They conjured up in their own minds that, okay, since Moshe is probably dead, so we have to fix who's going to help us. So the Satan, to take advantage of this, the Zohar Kadosh says that the Satan showed them a movie of the angels carrying the body of Moshe. He's like, yeah, you're right, Moshe did die. And he showed them the angels carrying the body of Moshe. Fake movie, fake news. Why? Because they allowed him to enter. They allowed the Satan to enter because of their doubt. They forgot that Moshe Rabbeinu was the Goel, spoke to God, was the one that brought the plagues, took them out of Egypt, Yam Suf, and so on. They forgot, like as if nothing happened. 6 hour mistake, 6 hour by them mistake, not by Moshe Rabbeinu. Already they had doubts and they let the Satan in. So the Satan came in there and told them, hey, Moshe is dead. So that made them think even further. Okay, so now their doubt became almost a confirmation. So they went to her and they told them, build us an idol, build us a sanctuary that we could serve Hashem through it. They weren't actually praying to the idol, that the idol was God. They wanted to build a sanctuary. They needed some type of middleman, but no one was like Moshe Rabbeinu. So he says, so build us some type of thing that we could, in essence, use as the key to connect to God, which is a violation of one of the 13 principles of faith. You can never think for a moment that anyone is needed for you to connect to God to. Not your rabbi, not a statue, not money, not nothing. If you want to connect to God, you can connect to God by simply speaking. He's not going to talk back to you, but he will do things in your life if you pray hard enough to show you that he's listening. The point is that they wanted to build some type of sanctuary, and her did not want to do it because he knew this is idolatry. They ignored it, and they ended up killing her. So then they went to Aaron HaKohen, Moshe Rabbeinu's brother. They said to him, build us a sanctuary, build us something. So Aaron didn't have even one doubt that Moshe was still alive. But he also knew they just killed one of the Gdolei Ador. And there's blood on their hands. They're not going to hesitate for a second to kill him too. But he knew that they needed him. Why? Because as soon as Moshe Rabbeinu comes down, they're all going to have to do tshuva. But how are they going to be able to do tshuva in those days? They need a para aduma. Para aduma, they have to be purified. They touched a dead body. They need a Kohen for that. Kohen, he's the only Kohen. He's the Kohen Gadol. If they kill him, they can't do tshuva. So he said, okay, you know what, let me buy some time. He said, listen guys, okay, you know what, you want something? Fine. Give me all your gold. Usually you ask people for money, they start walking out. You guys ever notice anytime I talk about money, people start walking out? The views on the internet start dropping precipitously. One guy, God bless him, today, he sends me a message. He says, I don't know, there's a video I watched of you, and you talk about the end of days. And I don't think that conversation of scaring people at the end of days should be talked about at the same time you talk about tzedakah. So I said, why? I said, generally the tzedakah is not for me to pay my rent. Tzedakah is for people to do tshuva. And that's why, it says tzedakah tetzil mimavet. It's just the opposite. Tzedakah tetzil mimavet. Tzedakah is going to save you from death. Because, yeah, but maybe that's only times where there is a turmoil within the nation. I said, what do you mean? Parashat Bechukotai, Parashat Kitavo, Parashat Azinu. Moshe Rabbeinu is rebuking the people to do tshuva, or else Hashem is going to destroy the world. One of the ways for people to do tshuva, needless to say, if you're going to give tzedakah for the sake of helping people do tshuva, that's the greatest thing in the world you can do. I said, which video are you talking about anyway? Did I talk about end of the world and tzedakah at the same time? I don't remember my videos. He goes, no, you didn't talk about it in the video. It's just that on the bottom of the video there was a donate button. I said, Hashem yishmor v'yatzil. Hashem yishmor v'yatzil. This is like the FBI. FBI of Facebook, FBI of internet. Like, how come you don't go to Chabad or Hidabrut or Chazak or Aish or any other organization that sends you 5,000 emails a second about donating to some type of cause? But you found me because you saw a donate button on the bottom of a thing. Why? You saw a donate. What? So maybe someone's going to donate 18 cents or $18. That's why you're trying to make sure that nobody donates. We stay. Well, I don't understand some people. God bless them. But anyway, you talk about money, people get scared. They start running away. Why? Because Chas v'Shalom, Yaron Reuven is going to become a millionaire again. Chas v'Shalom, guys. Hey! No, he has to stay poor. I got one kid, cute kid, in Canada. He came to me. He's a longtime friend, God bless him. And he says to me, listen, a friend of mine's been listening to you for a long time. And he did tshuva by you, Baruch Hashem. But then he stopped listening to you. I said, why? He said, because somebody asked how you make money or how you survive and so on, and you answered the question in a way where it wasn't really understood, so he thought that maybe you were like, I don't know, like lying about it. I said, what? He thinks I'm living off of what? I'm making millions of dollars off of Bezrat Hashem or something? I said, you know what? I won't even talk about it. I just took my phone. I said, here, let me show you my bank account. I showed him my bank account. $2,500 and $1,800 of it was deposited that day by some miracle. I said, here you go. Here's my bank. You can take a picture of it, send it to your friend. Here's the millions of dollars that I have. The $2,500, that $1,800 of it came 7 hours before that. Here you go. People are mamash crazy. If I want to make money, Rabotai, I'd quit tomorrow. I can go make $1 million my first year on Wall Street without doing anything. I can go to any Wall Street firm, sign in, they'll give me $100,000 a month. Just for my mouth. Without even making sales. People are simply crazy. Why? Yetzirah is looking for you. Looking. I wish I could advertise my bank account on the website live. Where it stays low, it kills the Ayin Hara. It gets high, it kills the Ayin Hara also. They become millionaire, they die anyway. If they stay poor, they die also. Why? Maybe somebody could give me like a button. I could put my bank account live on the website as one of the buttons. Hashem Yishmor v'Yatzil, how much people care about my pocket. My whole life, people are counting my money, or the lack of it. Anyway, when you ask people for money, they get scared. They don't get scared when Manis Friedman collects $5,000 for a half-hour speech. They don't get scared when other speakers collect $25,000, $30,000 to come to your Beit Knesset for a Shabbaton. They're going to speak for 2 hours. They don't get scared about that. But if Yaron Reuven puts a donate button that maybe somebody's going to get $18, oh, chas v'shalom, chas v'shalom. Just look at the feed for all the YouTube live videos. Look at the feed. There's like a handful of tzaddikim that beg people to donate. At the end of it, one of the guys, sends me an email. Oh, Baruch Hashem, Kvod Harav, you raised $116. I said, wow, amazing. That's a half a salary for one person for a day. Like what? People are simply insane. Insane. The Yetzer Hara over there is insane. But what can you do? You have to laugh at it. You have to. Why? Because it's the Yetzer Hara. Miskinim, they have such Yetzer Hara. So when Aaron HaKohen told people, go give me your money, give me your gold, he thought that people are going to start doing what they do to me. No, you crazy. What are you all about? Money, Aaron. To his surprise, their Yetzer Hara was even bigger than the people that deal with me. In a second, everybody started taking all their earrings, all their ring, everything except the women. The women didn't give up. The women were tzadikot. The guys, unfortunately, started taking off all their jewelry, started throwing it in the fire. And Micha, as I told you, the young boy that followed Moshe Rabbeinu, that had the mateh, had the piece of metal with Hashem's name on it, and a verse, Aleh Shor Aleh, on the other side, also threw that mateh into the fire. And Aaron, the thought that even though they gave me all this gold, it's going to take hours and hours and maybe even days to melt this gold and make it into something. But to his dismay, when Micha threw that mateh into the fire, it brought Kedusha into the fire, and actually that's why it says in the verse that the bull came out of the fire. It wasn't made, it came out of the fire, meaning it was made by itself. It came out. That's what when Moshe Rabbeinu said to Aaron, why did you do this to the people? Well, you hate them? He says, you know I didn't hate them. You know that they're stubborn people. The bull came out by itself. Rashi says on the place over there, he says, what do you mean it came out by itself? And he tells the whole story that I told you guys about how Micha threw out the mateh. So now, the bull came out, and the bull came out speaking, saying, I am the God that took you out of Egypt, saying the first commandment. So, when they worshipped this bull, they weren't worshiping the bull as if the bull was God. They weren't stupid. They weren't crazy, but they were mistaken. They thought they needed the bull. They thought they needed something. But that was still considered idolatry. If you know a Jew that prays to his rabbi, that's idol worship. If you know a Jew that's praying to some rabbi that died or someone is alive, it's 100% idol worship. Even if the rabbi was the biggest rabbi in the world, even if it was Moshe Rabbeinu himself, it's idol worship. If you have a Jew that says, no, if you want to connect to God, you have to do it through my Rabbi, that's idol worship. Go look, Gemara, Masechet Avodah Zarah, or the Rambam, Ilchot Avodah Zarah, you see, it's 100% idol worship. You cannot think even for a second that you need a middleman to connect to God. This is one of the reasons why Christianity is idol worship. It's not just one reason that they're idol worship. The fact that even if they're Messianics, even if they call themselves Messianics, which by the way, even the Messianics believe that Yoshke is God. Just news for anybody who doesn't know. But even if they're Messianics, they're telling you that in order to connect to God, you need Yoshke. That's idolatry. 100% idolatry. So when they did that, that was idolatry. But it wasn't because they wanted to go against God, but rather because they thought they needed something in order to connect to God because of the mistakes that I mentioned. Now, the other time, part 2 of the answer, sorry for it being so long, but hopefully entertaining, when they performed idolatry at the time of the Beit HaMikdash, it wasn't the same thing. And where we know that, Gemara, Masechet Sanhedrin, says at the time of the Beit HaMikdash, no one was doubting that God exists. There wasn't atheists walking around like today. No one was doubting. Why? You have the Beit HaMikdash, you have a lion, a fire in the shape of a lion coming down to the Beit HaMikdash every day. A fire, giant cloud of fire, blue fire, in the shape of a lion, coming down to the Bet HaMikdash every day to burn the korbanot. 410 years with millions of sacrifices, bulls, calves, doves, all types of birds, and so on, sacrificed at the Bet HaMikdash, blood everywhere. Not a single fly or mosquito ever had a wing inside the Bet HaMikdash. You go to your local butcher shop, there's 500 million flies there, parking, having lunch. Sacrifices, not a single fly. No woman, 400 years, no woman had a miscarriage. No woman had a miscarriage. Hashem Yerachem. How many miscarriages happen today? Sometimes on purpose. The amount of miracles that they had at the time of the Bet HaMikdash had no end. So no one had a doubt that God was running the world. So the Gemara says that the reason why they performed idolatry was not because they wanted to idol worship, but rather because they wanted the rabbis to leave them alone. Stop telling them to come to the Knesset. Stop telling them to keep Shabbat. Why? Because they wanted to go hang out with the Goyot. They wanted to have immorality crimes. Everyone knows they believe, the Gemara says, everyone knows they didn't believe in these stupid idols. So why did they perform this idolatry? They performed the idolatry because they knew that as soon as the rabbi, the sages, saw them pray to some statue, they wouldn't come back to their house to try to do kiruv anymore. It's like, this guy is a mikre avud, this is a lost cause, this guy's an idol worshiper. They would leave them alone, so then they would be free to go out with their non-Jewish girlfriends and make every crime under the sun. So the second one is for immorality. They wanted to perform immorality crimes, and that's why they in essence pretended to worship the idols. But nonetheless, they still were charged with idolatry in heaven. Still were charged with idolatry in heaven, but it wasn't because of the idolatry, but rather because of the immorality that they wanted to perform. Next question. Good question. Next question. Chavod.
We know that the Torah sometimes does not say the whole story, doesn't need to give the full, just go to the point.
Good.
But some part of this answer kind of reminded me of a question I had. Given that the people at this era, or even actually the sages comment that Moses was late like by 6 hours.
Yeah.
Does that mean that Hashem told him when he was going back?
Oh.
Did he tell them that he was going back at some time?
So the mistake actually was due to Moshe's error. The Midrash Me'am Loez, and the Gemara also talks about it, says that HaKadosh Baruch Hu, he told them that he's going to go up there, and apparently they knew it's going to be a certain amount of time, but Moshe Rabbeinu wanted to extend it by a day. He didn't want to leave Hashem. I mean, imagine, you're learning Chavruta with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. You want to leave? I'd never want to leave. Tell him, Hashem, why don't you send him an email? Send him an email, text message. What do you need? I don't need to go. I'm studying with you, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Who has a better Chavruta than that? He didn't want to leave. He wanted to stay there for an extra day. And because he stayed that extra time, because he wanted to delay it, if you will, that gave them enough time to have this machshava, this thought in their head, which in essence led to the sin. That's part of the reason of why HaKadosh Baruch Hu said to Moshe Rabbeinu, go down there, look, your people, not my people, your people sinned. Your people sinned. Chazal says for a few reasons. One of them is because, in essence, it was Moshe's mistake. But the other reason also was because it all started with the Erev Rav that Moshe, brought to Mount Sinai because they said they wanted to convert, and in reality they weren't really good converts. So Moshe took the initiative to bring them on, had mercy on them, and wanted to bring them on, and it was really their fault. It was really their fault. So this is why it's always good for a person to not only read Rashi when he learns the Chumash, but also after you've covered Rashi for a few times and you're pretty well versed in what Rashi says on the Torah, you should start looking into the Midrashim. The Midrash Gadol, Midrash Rabbah, Midrash Me'am Loez, Yalkut Shimoni. There's many midrashim. There's no end to the midrashim. In English, for example, the Midrash Me'am Loez is something out of this world, because Rav Kuli 300 years ago would fast for a week straight, learning Torah and writing his Midrash. He would fast from Motzei Shabbat until Shabbat, learning Torah and writing this Midrash. Unfortunately, he didn't complete it by himself. He only finished the first two books, the Bereshit and Shmot, and then it was completed by other Chachamim later on. But nonetheless, that Midrash uses sources from all across the globe of the Torah. It's from the Gemara, from the Zohar, from all types of Midrashim, from Shulchan Aruch, all types of things. And it not only tells you the behind the scenes of what happened behind all of these stories, if you will, but also teaches you the mitzvot inside it, and why we have this mitzvah, and what's the detail of this mitzvah. So it's a very, very in-depth midrash. I believe the Midrash Me'am Loez has 45 books that goes across the board of the entire Tanakh. When I tell people to study it, I usually recommend to buy one book at a time, rather than buy the entire 45. First of all, to see if you like it. And second of all, it's much easier to deal with your Yetzer Hara when you have one book in front of you rather than 45 that you haven't read. When you have 45 that you haven't read, it becomes overwhelming. You figure, oh, there's so much to read, I'm never going to finish. You end up not even starting. So to beat your Yetzer Hara, buy one at a time. Get close to finishing, order the second one. By the time you finish the first one, the second one already arrived. Or if you want, buy two at a time. That's, it's a little trick. You want to buy 45, buy 45. I don't care. It's your money. It's not that. It's just that you have to know how to deal with your Yetzer Hara. Many people have bookshelves in their house full of books they never read. They have lots and lots of books, but they haven't read all of them. But they keep buying more books. Why? Because the cover looks good. And the idea that it says that it has in the book also looks good. But they have so many books, they don't know where to start, so they end up either not reading anything at all, or they just read the first, 20, 30, 40 pages of every book. So they end up knowing a little bit about nothing. Nothing. They have just enough to hold a conversation, but they really don't know anything. If you want to understand what an author wrote, you have to read from beginning to end. You have to read from beginning to end. When I'm talking about Torah, talk about secular books, you shouldn't read it all. Secular books, you can read the first sentence and the last sentence of every paragraph, you'll understand the entire paragraph. But Torah, you can't do that with. Because general writing, secular writing, the first letter of a paragraph is a proven system. First letter of a paragraph, last letter of a paragraph tells you the entire idea of the entire paragraph. That's how these people that read many, many secular books, that's generally how they do it. Because you pretty much got the whole idea. You don't care about the details. You want to get the whole idea. First letter, first sentence, last sentence tells you pretty much the overall idea. You want details, you have to obviously read the whole thing. But Torah, you can't do that. Because when it's real Torah, every sentence is more than an entire book worth of information if you read it correctly. That's why the Chachamim go over the same books over and over and over again 1,000 times. For example, Rav Moshe Feinstein, alav shalom, what's known is that he completed the Shas. What's known, we don't know how much not known. We know for sure he completed the Shas no less than 400 times. The Sha'agat Aryeh, a few generations before, completed the Shas no less than 1,000 times. 1,000 times, no less than 1,000 times. Now what's the Shas? If you have, let's say, if you're an English speaker, and you're reading the Shas from, let's say, the translation of Art Scroll, which in my opinion is the best translation for English, and really even people that speak a little bit of Hebrew should read with the English translation, because the goal of learning Gemara is to understand what it says, not to learn another language. You can learn another language, throughout reading, but the key is to understand what it says, not to just break your head understanding the language. So it's best for you to read in your first language. If your first language is French, read it in French. First language is English, read it in English. There's many guys that study Gemara but don't know anything. Why? Because they understand Hebrew to a certain extent, but not enough to really understand the Gemara. So they'll read the whole page, and they'll read the Daf Yomi, and they'll finish the Masechet. You ask them, okay, so give me a Chidush that you learned from this Masechet Shabbat, or Masechet Avodah Zarah, or whatever Masechet you just finished. Give me a Chidush that you learned. Blank. Nothing. What do you mean? You just learned this thing over the last few months. You don't know anything? You have to keep Shabbat. Thank you. That's what you learned. Masechet, 156 pages, you learn you have to keep Shabbat. That's what you learned. So, why? In reality, they don't understand completely. They understand here, a little there, a lot of misunderstandings. Many times they go to the wrong conclusion because they don't understand the language. So it's very, very, very important to learn Gemara in your first language. There's no embarrassment, there's no shame there, and anyone that makes fun of you, send them to me. These people are fools. They're fools. You have to learn what it says, not learn a language. I've talked about this in the past. Anyway, when you're reading the Gemara, if you're reading the Art Scroll version, the Art Scroll version has something like 73 or 76 books that make up the Gemara. Because each Masechet is not one book for them. It's, it's like Shabbat is 4 books. Avodah Zarah is 2 books, and so on and so forth. Brachot, it's 2 books, and so on. So that means that Rav Moshe Feinstein read those 73 books and much more, no less. Each book, by the way, is close to 1,000 pages. Small print, not like the textbooks they have in school today. There's 6 words per page and a lot of pictures. Small, tiny little print. Small, tiny little print. The whole page, from beginning to end, both sides. Almost the equivalent of somewhere in the neighborhood of 5,500 pages, which in English is something in the neighborhood of probably 73,000 pages. 400 times. So, when a person asks themselves, why would you read the same thing 400 times? It was enough of an accomplishment for you to read it once. Why 400 times? Why does Rav Kanievsky, Shichyeh, read the entire Shas every single year? Why? You read it already for 80 years, 80 times at least. Why are you reading it again? Because if it's real Torah, each verse, each line from the Chachamim, you could learn it 1,000,000 times. Not 1,000 times, not 400 times. 1,000,000 times and still learn something new from it. 1,000,000 times. You still learn something new from it, the same verse. I'm not talking about the verse from the Torah, which is no end. I'm talking about Gemara. Gemara, each line they wrote in the Gemara, you can learn that one line, one sentence. In the Gemara, you can learn it 1,000,000 times and still learn something new. Needless to say, that's why they read it many, many times. So it's important for a person to read some of these midrashim, because those midrashim are going to complete the missing pieces of the puzzle and disregard stupid people. And I have to use the word stupid because foolish is not enough. I have to insult them a little extra. That tell you that midrashim are simply fairy tales, or they're just optional to even take into consideration or believe. Like some of these clowns that you have on the internet that make fun of midrashim, make fun of the Zohar, pretty much make fun of everything other than whatever they think they like. Midrashim, if you do not learn midrashim, you're simply not going to understand anything. You're not going to understand why the story even makes sense. Every time I learn a new midrash, it adds so many more pieces to the puzzle that wow, I can't believe I survived without this piece. Then you learn another one, it's like, wow, I can't believe I survived without this piece. You realize there's so much more to the story, there's so many different things. Till now, for 30, 40 years, you thought that the Jewish people were idiots and they prayed to some bull that they bought at Chinatown. Then you find out, oh, wait a minute, no, the bull spoke. Oh, wow. Then you find out the bull came out of the fire by itself. Then you're like, oh, wait, you know what? I think I'm going to pray for this one. Then you hear that he said, I'm God. Oh, wow, this guy, where is he? Can I find him? Then you hear that, no, I wasn't really praying to them. I was thinking that he was a sanctuary to connect to Hashem. Now you realize they're not stupid, but they're actually making a sin that we would have made 5 times more. 5 times more. But without the Midrash, you're not going to know that. So that's why it's important to learn. Next question. Ken.
Jews missionizing, why not?
Jews missionizing, why not? The thought of Jewish missionaries was a unheard of concept for most of history. And the reason why is because throughout most of history, we have been the persecuted nation. So to go tell people, listen, go become a Jew and join us in the Holocaust. Go become a Jew and join us in slavery in Egypt. Go become a Jew, keep Shabbat, and they'll kill you in Spain for doing absolutely nothing. Go become a Jew, keep Shabbat, and they'll murder you in England. Why? Because your cousin that's a loan shark lent them some money. Like, it was a completely ridiculous concept to tell people to become Jewish, because in essence what you're telling people is commit suicide. What are you telling them? So now that's why B'siyat Dishmaya brought your Gemara Masechet Yevamot. It says, what are the conditions to converting somebody? Now, if you want to go tell somebody, go become a Jew, you can. There's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with it. But until recently, it was a ridiculous concept. Why? We were persecuted. Why would you tell somebody to go join you, number one? Number two, why would they want to join you?
They're the ones attacking you.
Exactly. They're trying to kill you. Why would they want to join you? And even if they're not attacking you, why would they want to join the guy that's being attacked? It's insanity. It's like a guy that's a homeless guy tells the rich guy, hey, listen, why don't you join us in a homeless shelter? It doesn't make any sense because they don't understand the Kedusha, the holiness, God is one, and so on. So now, only in recent history and throughout history in general, in periodic times, like the time of Moshe Rabbeinu, the time of Shlomo HaMelech, David HaMelech, a certain amount of years in Spain, certain amount of time at the Bet HaMikdash, certain amount of times we had pockets of good. We had pockets of time that we had peace. We had pockets of time, a certain amount of years that we were okay and we weren't persecuted. But that generally, if you calculate how many years out of the 3,300 years that we were a nation, it's small pockets of time. It's a small fraction of time. If you look at what's happened to Am Yisrael, let's say over the last, let's say 30, 40 years, it's an anomaly. The fact that Jewish people are prospering, Baruch Hashem, all over the world, all types of professions, all types of achievements, accomplishments, and so on, is unheard of. Why? Just 75 years ago, they were killing us like the Chinese are killing dogs, in the streets with no one saying anything about it. Not the Americans and not anybody else. They were killing us by the millions. And that wasn't the first time. They did it also a generation before that and generation before that and so on and so forth. So the freedom that we have now, the prosperity that we have right now, is just another pocket of time that we're doing okay, where going and missionizing would make sense. Why? Why wouldn't you want to join the Am Yisrael right now? Nobel Prize winners per capita, the highest in the world, Jewish people. As far as Jewish success, it's not a secret. Everybody knows that Jews are very successful. As far as intellect, Baruch Hashem, we're smart people. Whatever it is, so it makes a lot of sense to go missionize now. But until now, it wasn't exactly a concept to even think of because it didn't make any sense. It is 100% allowed, but it is not something that we've done. And part of the other part of the reason why is because the Jewish people were always afraid of missionaries. So to go and missionize other people, we were afraid that we would let in the monster. We would let in someone that would say, yeah, okay, you know what, you want to be Jewish? Okay, I'll be Jewish. And in reality, he doesn't want to be Jewish. But he wants to go into your Beit Knesset, like they did in North Miami Beach. There were a missionary went to the Beit Knesset, no one said anything. And while they're all eating chulent, he's missionizing one of their Keilah members to go believe in Yoshke. So Jewish people were always afraid of missionaries, stealing their people, leading them to idolatry. So now, what would they do if somebody came to them? So the Gemara in Masechet Yevamot, page 47a, has a bereta. Says, the rabbi is taught a bereta, if someone comes to the Jewish court, comes to the Bet Din and says, I want to convert to Judaism, what do you do? So the court, the Bet Din says, Why do you want to convert? Why do you want to convert? Now he's going to tell him, oh, I love the emet, I love God, I love the Torah, I love mitzvah, I love, like people tell me 500 times a day, I love, I love, I love. They don't know much about it many times, but they love it. So then the court says, do you not know that nowadays the Jewish people are afflicted, oppressed, downtrodden, and harassed? And that hardships are frequently visited upon them? Meaning, don't you realize they're killing us in the streets? Don't you realize the Romans are killing us just for being Jewish? Don't you realize the Greeks are killing us just for being Jewish? Don't you realize that the Egyptians almost killed all of us? Don't you realize that they're trying to kill us constantly? And if it's not with the sword, then it's with taxes. And if it's not with taxes, it's with other laws. And it's not with the laws, it's all types of things. They're constantly torturing us in every community. No exceptions. At the time of Rashi, 900 years ago, one of the Christians sent to Rashi's city a request for his commentary, because he heard that he made a commentary on a Tanakh. And he says, I wanted to see the commentary. Rashi says, no, don't show him a commentary. He goes, why? Why not commentary? Because if they learn from that, they're going to use it against us. And he didn't want to do it. He didn't want to give him the commentary, but then they started getting threats. If we don't get the commentary, we're going to kill everybody. So Rashi agreed to give them part of the commentary. And but when the Christian showed up to get it, he thought he was going to meet Rashi himself. And he got very, very upset. Got very upset that Rashi himself didn't come. But then they saw in the book that in reality our commentary, Rashi's commentary, destroys their religion. That's why the Christians till this day, they don't read the Old Testament, what they call the Old Testament, which is our Torah, with commentary by us. They read it by their jokers. They read it by their clowns. Why? Because if you read the Torah with Rashi commentary, there's no chance in the world that you will remain an idol worshiper. It's impossible. There's no chance, because now you finally understand what the Torah says. But if you read it with the commentary of clowns, then of course you could believe whatever they want you to believe. So now they tell this convert, a guy that wants to convert, this candidate, don't you realize they're killing us? Listen to this, Rabotai. If he responds, this potential convert, if he responds, I know about all these hardships, I know that there was a Holocaust, and there will be a Holocaust, and all this, I know about all this stuff, and I am still unworthy of joining them. Meaning, I know about all these hardships, but the Jewish people are so holy, I'm not even worthy of being part of them. Please let me in. With all of these hardships that they have, they're still the greatest people on the planet, and I'm not even worthy of being part of them. Then the Bet Din says, we accept him immediately. Immediately we accept him. Why? Because he got the point of what it means to be a Jew. What does it mean? It's not about you know Torah or you don't know Torah. There's plenty of goyim that can tell you verses from the Torah by heart. Doesn't actually mean they know anything, but they know some things by heart. It doesn't mean just because you like the mitzvot or you don't like the mitzvot, therefore that qualifies you to be a convert. You know what qualifies you to be a convert? That you know that there's nothing on earth greater than Am Yisrael. Nothing on earth greater than Am Yisrael. They are the chosen people. They are God's firstborn. There's nothing better than them. Yeah, but what about all the sins? Yeah, with the sins. Yeah, but with all of that, they're still the greatest of all. Why? Mi ki amcha Yisrael, Hashem says. Who is like you? Who is like Am Yisrael that prays to Him like we pray to Him? That worships Him like we worship Him? That does every single thing we do involves a Kadosh Baruch Hu. I'm not talking about the sinners of Am Yisrael. I'm talking about the righteous of Am Yisrael. The righteous of Am Yisrael. I'll give you an example. In the time of the Holocaust, the Nazis, Yimach Shimam v'Zichram, were not only looking to destroy the flesh, but also the neshama of the Jewish people. the morale of the Jewish people as well. So they took a school, a Bet Yaakov, a school of girls, and there is a teacher there with a few other teachers and a bunch of young girls from the ages of 14 to 30. 93 total girls that were especially beautiful, and they kept them on the side. Didn't send them to the Holocaust, to the camps. Didn't send them to slavery. Didn't send them to the gas chambers. Where did they send them to? To a hotel. Wine and dine them. Why? Because the evil Nazis wanted to be with them intimately. Whether they were 14 or they were 24, didn't make a difference. They wanted to be with them intimately. But they knew that these Jewish girls are not going to do that. These are Bet Yaakov, Kodesh Kodeshim, Bnot Israel. So they figured they'll wine and dine them, and then eventually, if they don't want to, they'll just simply rape them. So the teacher knew all of this and wrote a letter, which was only found after the war. It's published in many books. That she read this speech to the girls, little 14-year-old girls, 15-year-old girls. We are God's daughters. We are princesses. We are different. We keep the Torah and mitzvot. We will die before we let a goy be intimate with us. It's better to die than to be intimate with a non-Jew for a second, for a Jew. Non-Jew with non-Jew, perfectly fine. Jew with Jew, perfectly fine. It's a match. Jew with non-Jew, you have to die. Because HaKadosh Baruch Hu says there are 3 sins that you have to die and not sin. One of them is Gilui Arayot. Another one is idolatry. A third one is murder. Gilui Arayot is sex crime, immorality. They want to be with us, with or without our will. It's better to die, she says to them. Even though halachically, they say that technically if it's a woman and she's not enjoying it, she technically doesn't have to die. She could just sit there and Hashem Yerachem. She doesn't have to die. But the Bet Yaakov Tzadikot, Kodesh Kodashim, they listen to their teacher. The teacher says, it's better that we die than let one of these Nazi evil imach shimam v'zicham touch your finger. She arranged poison for every one of them, and by the time the evil Nazis walked in thinking they're going to have a good time, they saw 93 women dead. Ishtabach shimo la'ad. There's a gun in Eretz Yisrael. In Eretz Yisrael called Gan 93. Kindergarten 93 after these girls.
Where is it?
It's in Bnei Brak. In Bnei Brak. Gan 93. This is a very famous story. Why is it such a fantastic story? Why you should be happy with the story, not sad? Because at the time of Avraham Avinu, when he was a young boy, he believed in God by himself. Nobody else in the world believed in God. Nimrod wanted everybody to believe in him. So when he found out that Avraham, this little boy, doesn't want to believe in him, he said, I'll throw you in a fire. Avraham had no problem. I'll go in a fire before I believe in anything but God. The people, the 2 cops, 2 generals that threw Avraham into the fire, they themselves, the fire was so strong, they themselves burned. Just by being next to the hole. Avraham jumped into the fire. The angels, the Malachei HaSharet, ran to Hashem. Hashem, Avraham, your only believer, he's going to get burned. Let us save him. Hashem says, no. He's alone down there. He's the only one that believes in me. I'm alone up here. I'll save him myself. HaKadosh Baruch Hu himself saved Avraham Avinu. But it says that HaKadosh Baruch Hu smelled the reach nichoach. He smelled an aroma. So Chazal over there says, what did he smell? What did he smell over there? Well, he smelled Avraham being burned. Says he smelled the smell of Avraham. What's it mean, the smell of Avraham? Smell of Avraham's descendants. Hananiah, Mishael, Azariah, at the time of Daniel. They wanted to throw him into the fire. Anyone that didn't believe in the idol, all of the Goyim, all of the other nations prayed to the idol. They told everybody, listen, you don't pray to the idol, we're going to kill you, throw you in a fire. Now these three tzaddikim, they could have just ran out of the city, and that's it, saved their own life. No one would know. But they said, no. It would be in the papers tomorrow that the Jews ran away. Maybe, something's wrong over there. Maybe they really believe, maybe they don't believe. It would leave doubts. No. We're going to tell everybody in the world, we don't believe in this idol, we believe only in God. But before, they went to the prophet Yecheskel. He said, Kvod Harav, Yecheskel, ask God if he's going to save us tomorrow. We're going to go to the fire. We're going to tell the king that we don't believe in him. We don't believe in his idol. We're not praying to any idol. We only believe in Hashem. And we're going to jump in the fire. Is Hashem going to save us like he saved Avraham Avinu? Yecheskel says, 1 second, let me talk to God. That's how it is. He goes, 1 second, I'll talk to God. Like you guys tell me, you have an answer. I say, let me talk to my Rav for a second. I'll get back to you. 1 second, we'll talk to God. Yecheskel says to them, 1 second, I'll be right back. He goes, talks to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. HaKadosh Baruch Hu says to Yecheskel, tell them, no, I will not save them. If they want to die on Mesirut Nefesh, they want to die in Kiddush Hashem, let them die. No problem, I'm not going to help them. Yecheskel comes back to them. He says, Yaron, you want to, Hashem says, you jump in the fire, you want to die in Kiddush Hashem? Go ahead, do it. Big mitzvah. But he's not going to help you. They leave. And Yecheskel says to Hashem, after they leave, Hashem, you're really not going to save them? Like, why not? You saved Avraham. Hashem says to Yecheskel, he goes, you really think I'm not going to save them? Of course I'm going to save them. But I didn't want to tell them I'm going to save them and steal the mitzvah from them. Now they're going to go and jump into the fire thinking that they're going to die. That's a real mitzvah. Even if I save them, it's a huge mitzvah. It's Kiddush Hashem. They'll be written in the Tanakh forever. But if I told them, listen, you can jump wherever you want and I'll catch you, then what kind of mitzvah is that? You already have the winning lotto ticket. What kind of mitzvah is that? It's not Kiddush Hashem. Nothing. You already know you won. So that's why I didn't want to steal the mitzvah from them. HaKadosh Baruch Hu at the time of Avraham Avinu was smelling the fire of these three tzaddikim. And guess what, Rabotai? He was also smelling the fire of all the tzaddikim that died on Kiddush Hashem at the time of the Bet HaMikdash. That instead of converting to false religions and idolatry, they killed themselves. HaKadosh Baruch Hu was smelling the fire of the people that died throughout the last 3,000 years just for you to be Jewish, including these 93 tzaddikot that were willing to die and not be intermarried even for a minute. Intermarriage does not require a court. Intermarriage is just simply being intimate with someone that's not Jewish. That's intermarriage. When a Jewish girl goes with a non-Jewish guy, doesn't matter if they're married or not, that's intermarriage already. Jewish guy with a non-Jewish girl, that's already intermarriage. They lost their share of the world to come. They went against Hashem. These girls says, even though we have an excuse, even though we technically even have a biblical permission, a Torah permission to save our life, we'll just sit there and let this filthy pig finish what he wants to finish, and then we go back to our life. No, my friends. We're not going to ruin our Kedusha. We're going to go and kill ourselves, get burned, die, just so we don't even ruin a little bit of Kedusha, a little ruin of Hashem's name, even a little bit. HaKadosh Baruch Hu smelled their fire 4,000 years ago. 4,000 years ago. Right now they're in Gan Eden with Rabbi Akiva v'chaverav. That's Kiddush Hashem. For anyone who wonders what's Kiddush Hashem, that is Kiddush Hashem. That's Kiddush Hashem. Someone dies for the sake of protecting the Torah. There's a very big difference. Someone dies just because he's a Jew. That's called Arugei Malchut. And someone that dies for the sake of protecting the Torah. Someone that dies for the sake of protecting the Torah, there's no one higher than him as far as Kiddush Hashem. This is something that's beyond belief. The only thing that's higher than dying on Kiddush Hashem is someone that lived on Kiddush Hashem and did Kiruv, meaning helped people do tshuva. That's the only thing that's higher than that. But the point is, Rabotai, these 93 precious neshamot understood what it means to be a Jew. Understood what it means to be a Jew. And that's the beauty. So now when this guy says, I want to be a Jew, and despite the fact that they're burning you, despite the fact that they're killing you, I'm not even worthy, then he got the point. Because that means he's willing to die for the sake of Judaism. He's willing to die for the sake of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So then the Gemara continues, so does he know anything? He doesn't know anything. So the Gemara says, we inform him on some minor mitzvot and some major mitzvot. We tell him some small things. Do Netilat Yadayim, do a bracha before you eat, do a bracha after you eat. Some small stuff, easy stuff. And then we tell him some big mitzvot. You have to keep Shabbat, you can't worship an idol. Basic stuff, but not overwhelm him. Not overwhelm him. But what do they delve on? More than teaching him the minor and the big mitzvot, because this is all happening on the spot. It's not like I'm sending you to a course for 6 months. It's all happening on the spot. Listen, what do they delve on specifically? What's the next page and a half about? It says, and we inform him of the sin of failing to observe the laws of leket, shichacha, pe'ah, ma'aser ani. We inform him of the punishment for one who violates the mitzvot. And we tell him, be aware that before you reach this level, if you ate chelev, which is a fatty part that we're not allowed to eat as Jews, if you ate chelev, you would have not been punished at all as a non-Jew. If you desecrated Shabbat, you drove on Shabbat, you wouldn't be punished with stoning. But if you now eat chelev, if you now violate Shabbat, you will get the punishment of stoning, because it's Isur Karet. And then we inform him of the punishment for transgressing the mitzvot. And after that, we inform him of the reward for following the mitzvot, by telling him, be aware that the world to come is made only for the righteous. And in the present era, the Jewish people are unable to receive reward of good in this world. So, or an abundance of punishment, but we do not overwhelm him. So, you see here, Rabotai, that although they tell him a little bit about few mitzvot, keep this, keep this, keep this, what is the biggest focus on? Don't sin. Don't sin. Why? It's much worse to sin than to miss out on a mitzvah.
Worse?
Yes, if you sin, it's much worse than missing out on a mitzvah. Meaning, if you ate, let's say, and you forgot to do bracha, it's not good. But it's much, much worse if you light fire on Shabbat. Not that we're supposed to necessarily measure the mitzvot, but we understand it based on the punishment. If you ate something without saying a bracha, that's not good. It's not good. But you can do tshuva for it, simple tshuva. If you drove on Shabbat, it's death penalty. There's no tshuva for that. They kill you. If you drove on Shabbat knowing it's Shabbat, you got witnesses and everything, they kill you. But if you ate without saying a bracha, no one kills you. You get punished, but no one kills you. Drove on Shabbat, you get killed. So that's what the main focus is. So that means that if a convert that hasn't even converted yet, the first thing they teach him is a few minor mitzvot, a few big mitzvot, but mostly focus on stay away from punishment. Needless to say, we have to teach that to every single Jew in the world. A few mitzvot, a few big ones, a few small ones, but most importantly, focus on don't sin. Why? Because if you sin, the punishment is heavy. And then they do the Brit Milah on him. But if the Brit Milah had a mistake, either because he did it already in the past, at let's say the hospital, or they just simply made a mistake, then they do another Brit Milah, second Brit Milah. This happens, unfortunately, sometimes. This happens sometimes. But the point is, Rabotai, is that the convert is not expected to be a rabbi by the time he converts. He's expected to love Am Yisrael more than anything else, have the opinion of Am Yisrael that they are the greatest among all creation. Secondly, needs to know some basics, but most importantly, know the consequences of not following the Torah. Why? Because if you know the consequence of not following the Torah, you're much higher and much more likely to follow the Torah. Last question. I want to go. Howard.
That if you see the donkey of someone you hate crouching in its burden, would you refrain from helping him? So it's a mitzvah to have to hate certain sinners until they repent. But if a good friend or that sinner are in the same predicament, you must go to help the sinner first to do the yeshara from hating an enemy.
Right.
How would you discern in a situation who to help?
Who to help, whether to help a sinner or to help. So if you see, for example, that there is where he's explaining over there from the verses is a little different than the situation today. So for example, it says that if there's, let's say, a hole in the ground, and your friend's donkey falls into the hole in the ground, fell into the hole, and you know that if you don't save this donkey, he's going to die, and your friend's going to lose money. Don't just walk through it and make it like, oh, it's not my donkey, so I don't care. Right. You know, like people sometimes they see, garbage on the floor here in the Beit Knesset, and they just walk like they didn't see the garbage. Why? Because the rabbi can pick it up. No, they don't want to pick it up. They see the girls slaving over bringing food every week, but everybody pretends like they didn't eat. So the girls pick it up, the girls make it, the girls do everything, but the guys just eat like pigs. No one wants to help. Like that. You guys ever hear such a thing? It happens sometimes. So that's called selfish. That's what it's called. So Torah says, don't be selfish. But don't be selfish not with your friend or even with your enemy, someone you don't like. Why don't you like him? Oh, he's a sinner. Oh, this guy's a sinner. This guy, he steals in his business. This guy violates Shabbat. So, I shouldn't help him. No, my friend. If he's a Jew, you have to help him unless he's an idol worshiper. If he's an idol worshiper or he's someone that leads other people astray, then it says let his donkey die. Let him die too. If he's stuck in a hole, if the idol worshiper is stuck in a hole, let him die. Don't save him. But how do we actually act in the world? We act in the world when we save them too. Why? If you are a doctor and you get a call on Shabbat that someone is at risk of dying unless you come to the hospital and you save their life with some type of surgery. If it's a Jew, it's a mitzvah for you to go save this guy's life. It's a mitzvah for you to drive in a car on Shabbat to go save somebody's life. Mitzvah. It's not like it's not a sin. It's an actual mitzvah to drive on Shabbat and perform anything to save a Jewish life. But what about if it's not a Jew? What about if it's not a Jew? If you're a doctor, you still have to drive on Shabbat to go save the non-Jew. And the reason why is not because it's a mitzvah to save the non-Jew, but rather it's because if you don't save the non-Jew, then what's going to end up happening is that the non-Jewish doctors are not going to save the Jews. And you're going to indirectly hurt other Jews. Therefore, you go save the non-Jew also. Therefore, you can go save the non-Jew also.
It's not a sin, though.
It's not a sin. No, it's not a sin. No, because you're doing it for the betterment of Am Yisrael. But the point is that in this specific example is that you have to make sure that your judgment of other people, even if they're sinners, is not too heavy and not heavier than God's. You're not allowed to hate the sinner. You have to hate the sin. The Gemara Masechet Brachot has a debate between Rabbi Meir Baal HaNes and his wife Bruya. Bruya was a Talmidah Chachama, very wise woman that knew a lot of Torah, and she saw that her husband, the Gdol Hador, Rabbi Meir Baal HaNes, was being insulted and bothered by these avaryanim, these gangsters outside. Every day these little gangster kids would bother him, call him names, all types of things. So they bothered him so much every day, that one day he found himself starting to pray for them to die. And Bruya, before he finished the prayer, because had he finished the prayer, definitely they would die. Bruya, who heard this, stopped him in the middle of the prayer. She says, "My dear husband, don't you know that Hashem doesn't want them to die? If He wanted them to die, they would already be dead. Don't you know that you're supposed to hate the sin and not the sinner? Rather than praying for them to die, pray for them to do tshuva." And Rabbi Meir says, "Tzadka mimeni, you're right, I should pray for them to do tshuva." He prayed for them to do tshuva, and they ended up doing tshuva. So that means, Rabotai, that if you see a mechalel Shabbat, driving on Shabbat, you see someone that's married to a non-Jew, you see a Jew married to a non-Jew, you see a Jewish guy going to casino gambling, you see a Jewish guy eating pork on Yom Kippur, don't hate him. The sin, of course you should hate the sin. But him itself, his personality, don't hate him per se. Why? He's not, normally speaking, I'm not talking about all the situations, normally he's not making the sin because he hates God. Generally speaking, most Jews are dear people, and they're simply sinning because they're ignorant, they're clueless of the law. And even if they know the law, they don't know the consequence of violating the law. So they're eating pork because their belly is of higher value to them than the Torah is. If they're intermarried, that's because their private part is their brain, instead of their brain being their brain. If they're stealing in business, that's because they've turned money into God, which many religious people do also. So don't hate the sinner, hate the sin. Unless the sinner is a machtia rabim. If the sinner leads other people astray, if the sinner makes fun of the Torah, if the sinner leads people to Christianity, or to idolatry, or to atheism, or to Muslims, or Islam, or he leads them away from God altogether for no reason, or he leads them to nightclubs, or he leads them to make all types of crimes against Hashem. He does it like he knows this is a sin. He doesn't care. He leads them astray on purpose. He makes fun of the Torah. He writes things against the rabbis that are tzaddikim. He makes fun of God, things like that. Then he's a machtia rabim. Then he's a mesit. And a person like that, somebody that leads people astray. And a person like that, it is a mitzvah. Again, it's a mitzvah to pray for that person to die. It's a,
Israelis are like that.
no, it's not true. It's a mitzvah to pray for that person to die. You pray for him to die without even knowing 3 times a day in Amidah. Ala minim ve'ala malshinim lo ti tikva. This is in your Amidah 3 times a day. You pray for such people to die. Why? Because they lead people away from God. Every Jew that prays Amidah, this is part of Amidah. If you're a woman, you pray this once a day. You're a guy, you pray this 3 times a day. Why? Because these people are enemies. So, those people, mitzvah to hate them, mitzvah to wish for them to die. But as far as regular, average Jewish guy that is clueless, just doesn't follow the Torah, no. That guy, you pray for him to do tshuva, and B'ezrat Hashem, he will. Hopefully he will. It's sometimes they don't, like my cousin, unfortunately. But nonetheless, it's it's somebody that you need to help. But again, it's where if you see a person like that violates Shabbat or other things, but not on purpose, not to make God mad and so on, you see his donkey in the hole, go help him. Go help him. Why do you go help him? Because that could potentially be your opening to not only show that you don't hate him, you hate his sins but not him, but also further than that, that could also be a way for you to connect to this person and show him the beauty of Judaism. I know that many times when people learn the beauty of Judaism, the true beauty of Judaism, their entire perspective changes. You know, it's when they actually understand that we have rules for everything, but that's to mankind's benefit, they realize how beautiful Judaism is. You know, I mean, just look at the kindness that's done by religious people is unprecedented. No one can challenge it. No one can say that they even come close. For example, if you have any type of medical problem, you have an organization like Hatzalah that volunteers for free, doesn't send you a bill, to go save lives. 24 hours a day, bunch of volunteers. You have organizations that give food for free, every Shabbat, sometimes every day. You have organizations that help with all types of things from the religious people that are unheard of. Medical issues, medical bills, all types of things that religious people do that are just simply unheard of from the secular world. So that's because they are doing it because it's a mitzvah from the Torah. Whereas the non-religious or the non-Jew are not doing it because it doesn't make sense for them to do such a thing. It doesn't make sense for a non-Jew to work for free. It doesn't make sense for a secular person to work for free. You know, they'll volunteer from time to time, but not make it their job. Whereas for a religious Jew, it's normal. Why? It's my chesed. This is how I fulfill the Torah. So, if you see a sinner, you have to know what kind of sinner it is. And as far as him being a mesit and so on, someone that's an enemy, you have to know this, not just think, oh, I think he is.
How do you know this? Like
You know if he's done something that you know of that is well known. Like if he has well-known websites that are against Torah, if he's constantly talking against rabbis and things like that, then you know he is.
I recently met a group of people publicly against Jews.
I don't understand.
Don't like Jews.
They're Jews that don't like Jews?
Jews don't like Jews. Just talking bad about public, like Starbucks, cafes, things like that. Other people hearing it, hearing it, and smiling. You see them smiling, like,
Right.
right, I'm confirmed. If the Jew saying that, then
That's called. There's many of them.
so what is that? Is that receipt?
It's called a self-hating Jew. These
So you're
people.
saying all these Jews- but in the meantime, he's a Jew. So what are you saying about yourself if you're saying?
No, he doesn't.
Israel-
He doesn't consider himself Jewish.
Especially Israelis. Like we're talking specific about groups.
I don't know. These are self-hating Jews. There are many of them.
Don't do business with
They're liberal, lefty-minded, that are anti-Torah. They, to give you an idea of how anti-Jewish they are, at the time of the Holocaust, there was a shortage of resources in the Nazi army. They needed medicine, they needed trucks, they needed weapons, and they came to the Jews, the Zionists, and they told them, listen, we're willing to free 1 million Jews from the concentration camps. 1 million. We're talking about almost 20% of the people they murdered. We're willing to free 1 million Jews if you give us some trucks. And Ben Gurion and his friends said no. In fact, the one guy that tried to do it, tried to get it done, they actually trapped him and sent him to jail. They sent him to jail. And they let those 1 million Jews die. These are self-hating Jews. Even more so. even more so, at the time of the Holocaust, many people in America and did not know, Jewish people did not know that the Holocaust was happening to the extent that it was. And the reason why is because many of them depended on the resource of the New York Times, Imach Shimam v'Zichram. And the New York Times, throughout all of the years of the Holocaust, barely reported anything about the Holocaust and intentionally hid the information. Intentionally hid the information from the American public to minimize the damage intentionally and let more and more people die, even though it's run by a Jew, a Reformed Jew, Imach Shimo v'Zichro. Until this day, they're still run by liberal, lefty-minded, self-hating Jews. So, further to just to complete the equation for you guys and show you how they don't just go away. After the Holocaust was finished, during the Holocaust, New York Times and their friends were trying to make sure as many people die as possible. Towards the end of the Holocaust, the Zionist evil monsters, were making sure that all 6 million died, not just 5 million, because that's not enough, 5 million. We want to make sure it's a round number, 6 million. And if you read some of the letters that Ben Gurion and some of his friends wrote during that time, which I've read them, I have a whole book of it in my house, they said, listen, what's the point of saving these people? The more that die, the more we're going to get sympathy from the world to get a country. They wanted more people to die. They wanted people to die. And they loved the New Testament, by the way. They say, listen, Zionism and Judaism have nothing to do with each other. In fact, they're polar opposites, because where Judaism is destroyed, Zionism begins. Because Zionism is something to destroy Judaism. Not like people think that Zionism is in line with Judaism. It's the exact opposite. And this is in their letters. I have a whole book of letters if you'd like. They're kind of boring, but a lot of them. But nonetheless, it's a lot of information. And some of this stuff obviously is available online. Now, if that's not enough, because they don't teach us in Hebrew school, or not here and not in Israel, if that's not enough, after the Holocaust, Baruch Hashem, we survived. Fewer, but nonetheless we survived, right? After the Holocaust, you figure, okay, now we're fine. We just murdered a bunch of us. We got a country, right? 1948 of the Christian calendar, they arrived. People arrive from all over the world. All over the world, they arrived. These Zionist monsters took countless Yemenite kids and other Sephardi kids and started doing medical testing on them, ending up killing them. And when that wasn't enough, they wanted to make some extra money. They sold them to Americans, $5,000-$10,000 a clip. To Americans, they sold them either to do tests on them, because it would be off the books because it's not an American citizen, or to people that wanted to adopt them. People that couldn't have kids or so on, they would buy these kids. But not with the parent's permission. The parent will have the kid, and then wait for the kid. Say, oh, well, sorry, ma'am, your baby died. Wow. What do you mean my baby died? Let me see the baby. No, it's gone. What do you mean it's gone? Let me see the baby. I want to see it. I want to bury it. If it died, I want to bury it. There's a proper burial for religious Jews. We're not animals. I want to bury it. No. We took it already. Till this day, they're hiding a lot of classified information in the Israeli government about these kids that they sold and they murdered in cold blood. Till this day, there's trials. This is not like a conspiracy. This is real. It's verified. You could type in Yaldei Timan. Yaldei Timan on the internet. You'll see websites and congressional meetings and newspaper articles and so on and so forth. Till this day, there are actually Yemenites that are discovering who their real family is 50, 60, 70 years later. Now they're discovering it. Sisters that didn't know, that thought that the other one was dead, or parents that thought the kid was dead but ended up being alive, from America, from other countries, and so on. Who did all of this? The Zionist monsters. Self-hating Jews. Self-hating Jews. So they're not just mesitim and medichim, like I said, the Christians. They're the Satan itself. They're the Erev Rav. These people are monsters. Monsters. And unfortunately, they still exist. Some of them are actually running to be the Prime Minister of Israel right now. Benny Gantz, what do you think? He's a tzaddik? He's one of these monsters. If he had an opportunity, he'd kill everybody that doesn't look like him. These people are no different than Hitler. No different. Anyone that thinks otherwise is mistaken. But they are the predominant controlling power in the government in Israel today. Does that mean we're anti-Israel? Chas v'shalom. We love Israel. Doesn't mean we agree with the government. Doesn't mean we agree with the secular law. We love the Jewish people. Jewish people have nothing to do with the Israeli government. Would I live there? Tomorrow if I could. Doesn't mean I agree with the law. Doesn't mean I agree with the government. But the point is to know who is your enemy and who is simply an ignorant sinner. If he's an ignorant sinner, doesn't know Aleph Bet, doesn't know nothing, then you don't need to hate him. In fact, you should bring him closer like we do every single day. What do you think? All of our students are all tzaddikim. Usually they start off ignorant. Then they, Be'ezrat Hashem, become tzaddikim. So, if someone's ignorant, you help him. That's what the Rambam says. That's what the Torah says, and so on and so forth. You help the ignorant. But if he's a murderer, if he's a person that's outright looking to destroy the Torah, that is an enemy. And it's a mitzvah to hate that person. It's a mitzvah to pray for that person to die. And even if you don't realize it, you are praying for that person to die. So your political correctness, it was already dealt with by the sages of Anshe Knesset HaGedolah. Anything pertinent, or we continue next week? We're finished? Next week, B'ezrat Hashem, I'm going to be in New York. I'm going to New York, I think it's Monday and Tuesday. Monday and Tuesday. Last week I got it wrong. I thought it was different. Yes, so next week I'm going to be in New York, Monday and Tuesday. B'ezrat Hashem. We have a shiur in 5 towns, and then we have a shiur in Queens. B'ezrat Hashem, there's going to be two big lectures over there. But I will be here to see you on Sunday, B'ezrat Hashem. So you guys prepare for some questions if you have them at that point. But I'm also contemplating giving you a shiur that I've been wanting to give about this business with goyim and interest and so on. Maybe we'll do that on Sunday. We'll see. B'ezrat Hashem. Beseder, thank you very much for learning with me. Baruch Adonai Le'olam. Amen ve'amen.